Today's video is going to be all about vanilla fragrances that are anything but basic. So if that's your type of thing, then please keep on watching. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you are visiting. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Hayley and I review fragrances. So as I already mentioned in the intro, today's video is going to be all about vanilla fragrances. But these are vanilla fragrances that I feel are anything but basic. So they're not your straight up gourmand, sugary, sweet vanillas. These are all fragrances that have a little bit of a twist to them. I'm super excited to bring you this list of fragrances. But before we get started, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to my channel. It really helps this channel out and I would love to have you part of this community. So now that is out of the way, let's jump straight into the first fragrance. The first fragrance is Absolute Aphrodisiac by Initio. To me, this is such a sexy musk fragrance. Musk is definitely the star of the show for me. You definitely get the vanilla, and it is quite a sweet vanilla too, very decadent, but that musk just does something to me in this composition. I think it's one of the most sexy fragrances that I have in my entire collection. And I would really love to know if you have sampled Absolute Aphrodisiac. What do you think about it? Is this a sexy fragrance to you? Do you like it? Do you enjoy the musk in here? Because I know not everyone loves musk fragrances, and this does have a slight animalic vibe to it, only very slight. Very, very sexy, would make a perfect date night scent. The vanilla is there, it is sweet, but it's not a typical straightforward vanilla. You absolutely need to enjoy your musks, specifically musks that have an animalic twist to it. This is a fragrance I would highly recommend sampling. I would not blind purchase this. I always recommend that you sample your fragrances first. And musk definitely needs to be tried on the skin, that is for sure. So the first fragrance that I feel is a vanilla that is anything but basic is Absolute Aphrodisiac by Initio. Next up is Nishane Ani, and I've chosen to feature the X version in this video, but I feel either of them would work perfectly because they are both vanilla fragrances that are anything but basic. I can't quite tell which one I love more, the original Annie or the X version. I think the X version is smoother around the edges. I used to find the original Annie a little bit challenging because it is quite sharp around the edges, but now I have the X version. I'm not quite sure which one I prefer. I would say the original is a little bit more unique, albeit a little bit challenging. But the X version, they have definitely like smoothed the edges and there isn't as much of a green touch in here. Oh, this is such a good vanilla. It's very aromatic. There still is a green touch in here. You get citruses, like a lemony kind of vibe. You definitely pick out the sharp ginger note, which gives it a zingy edge. There's also a melon note in the X version, which makes this kind of watery and juicy. There's a little bit of apple. It's also kind of resinous in the base. I'm sure many of you have tried Annie. Please do let me know what you think about Annie. Is it a fragrance that you enjoy or do you not care for it? I would love to hear your feedback. And also if you have tried both Annie and the X version, which one is your favorite from the two of them? Next up is Vanille Supermassive, and this one is new to my collection. Of course, this is just a travel size. I will definitely add the full size bottle of it at some point, but it really struck me as soon as I smelt it. Now this is my scent of the day. It is an aromatic, woody vanilla fragrance. It smells like you are walking through a forest. There are fir trees around you. You're getting that green, woody vibe. I can smell the earth from the moss, but at the same time, it's got a sweetness from caramel. Of course, it's got the vanilla in here too. It has quite a large dose of ambroxan, so I'm getting the wind around me in the forest. So think of this as an aromatic vanilla fragrance that smells quite natural. If you like those natural, earthy, woody types of fragrances but want something with a vanilla touch, this is one that I would definitely recommend sampling. If you also like fragrances similar to Eau by Diptyque, this one might be the type of fragrance that you would like too. But it's such a perfect woody, aromatic vanilla So chic and classy. You could wear this one all year round. It would make a fantastic signature scent, and I can't wait to review this one in another video, but I had to include it in this list. Next up, we have Imperial Peacock by Alexandre J. Now this is a very sweet, almost gourmand vanilla, but it's complex. It's not a basic vanilla at all. There is quite a sharp rhubarb note in here, which gives this an edge and stops it from being a basic vanilla scent. It also has quite a huge dose of almond, which is really delicious in the opening. It's a little bit balsamic. There's also some tonka bean. There's cinnamon. It's a really interesting scent profile. I've seen people compare it to Angel Share on Fragrantica. Now, I do not feel like this smells like Angel Share, but I do get the reference because you get that kind of spicy, ambery, boozy vibe to it. But then you have the green tart rhubarb. You have the creamy yet bitter almond. You have the tonka bean. Oh, this is such a good fragrance. It is quite heavy and it is quite dense. I have to be in the right mood to wear this one because it's quite intoxicating and quite in your face. Very powerful and also very sweet. But I do feel like this is a fantastic vanilla fragrance that's not basic. If you can find a sample of this one, I would highly recommend that you check it out. I will try to link a sample somewhere down below. But I think this fragrance is a little bit harder to find and harder to sample in person. But as I mentioned, I will try to link somewhere down below that you can sample this one. Next up is Poets of Berlin by Vilhelm. Now, I personally find this fragrance incredibly unique due to some of the notes in here, such as the bamboo and the orris. This fragrance pulls really interestingly to me. I think the bamboo is the note that's giving it the green touch to my nose, and I almost pick out a cigar type quality as well. The orris gives this an earthy, creamy, yet powderiness. There is also blueberry in the opening, which does give it a sweet touch, but I do not think this fragrance is overly sweet at all. There's a little bit of lemon in the opening. It has sandalwood and vetiver in the base. To me, this is a woody vanilla that has this kind of earthy creaminess about it. Really interesting. I keep meaning to get a full-size bottle of this one, but I would love to know if any of you have sampled Poets of Berlin, and if so, what do you think about it? Is this a fragrance that you enjoy? And how do you perceive the bamboo note in here? Because I feel like we will all perceive it quite differently, but I would highly recommend checking out Poets of Berlin if you are looking for a unique vanilla. Next up is Queening by Mind Games. Now, this is more of a kind of subtle, creamy solar vanilla in my opinion. I find this incredibly unique, but it does lean more towards the sweet gourmand style vanillas. Whilst I wouldn't say this is necessarily gourmand, it leans more in that direction. It's not a spicy vanilla, it's not overly complex. It has a note of coconut milk, which gives this a creamy, almost sunscreen quality about it. And then it has a cotton note in the opening. This is really creamy. I find this incredibly delicious. The coconut is very prominent to me. Like I said, it does pull a little bit tropical to me, almost a sunscreen vibe. You have orris, rum, saffron, you have musk. But to me, the most prominent notes are the vanilla and the coconut. It's a very airy, kind of light fragrance. This doesn't last a long time on my skin at all. Very much medium performance, so do please bear that in mind. But it is one of my favorite new vanilla fragrances. There is something about this that I find so addictive, really easy to wear. I do wish it lasted longer on my skin, but it will not put me off wearing this one. I will just have to overspray this a little bit more. It also only has medium projection, but that combination of the coconut milk, the cotton and the vanilla, mix that in with the musk. I get a little bit of saffron and a little bit of rum, but not too much. This is sweet, but at the same time pillowy. I'd highly recommend checking out Queening if you have not already. Again, Do try to sample this one. It is a more expensive fragrance, but I think this is truly special in terms of a vanilla fragrance. Yes, it might not be as unique as some of the others in this video, but I do like the combination of the notes that are used in this composition. Next up is Parfums de Marly Althair. And a lot of people are saying that they think this is quite a basic vanilla fragrance. And I don't agree with that. I don't think this is basic. I think it's very easy to wear, but I wouldn't call this a basic vanilla fragrance at the very least. I think because in terms of the Parfums de Marly collection, this is a more subdued fragrance. Yes, I completely get that. But I think this is such an incredible vanilla scent. It's an aromatic vanilla. It has lots of cardamom in here, which is probably why I love it. It's a little bit spicy, very easy to wear. I think this would make a great signature scent, and I reach for this one so often. There's praline and there's musk in the base, and that praline gives it such a nice sweetness. You also have some orange blossom, which makes this very, very unisex. This could have easily been in the feminine collection too. That's one thing about Parfums de Marly that I think could be better. They have their targeted bottles. So these bottles are targeted masculine and then the other bottles are targeted feminine. This is totally unisex. Yeah, it's such a beautiful aromatic vanilla dominant fragrance that's spicy. It's a little bit floral. It has a sweetness in here. It has some ambroxan, and I am really in love with it. As I've mentioned, I wear this one quite a lot. I think this makes a great everyday fragrance, but at the same time, it's special enough to turn heads. I would love to know what you think of Althair if you have tried it already. I do layer this fragrance quite a lot as well, but for me, this is not a basic vanilla. You might disagree with me, and that is fine. This is just my opinion, but I think this is a special vanilla fragrance that has a unique twist to it. Next up is Vanilla Vice by Vivamor. This is such a fantastic incense vanilla scent. Now, it has incense, as I've just mentioned, but it also has a cognac note. There's some tonka bean in here. There's heliotrope. It even has some almond. But I've mentioned this already. If you love YSL Baby Cat and if you love Rosendo Matteo's No. 5, you will probably love this fragrance. Now, I'm not a huge fan of Rosendo Matteo's No. 5. The saffron in there pulls a little bit too rubbery for me, and I don't get that with this composition, but they are a similar type of scent profile. To me, this is more of a incensey saffron vanilla. I don't believe saffron is listed in this composition, but I definitely pick it out. You have the musk too. There's a little bit of sweetness coming from the tonka bean. I do get the almond. It edges on being gourmand slightly, but it's a lot more complex. The incense isn't too in your face. And if you like Baby Cat and you cannot find it because it's really hard to find right now, I think it's discontinued in the US. You can still find it in the EU. Check out Vanilla Vice because this is half the price of Baby Cat, and I also have a discount code that you can use to save a little bit more money, but do try to sample this one. I will say that first, but if you like your incense vanillas that are a little bit sexy, it has the saffron in here too, but it doesn't have the saffron, but that's what I'm getting, so I'm going to mention it. Then yeah, maybe check out Vanilla Vice by Vivamor. So those were all of the fragrances that I wanted to mention in today's video. Please do let me know if any of these stood out to you, but I would love to hear what are your favorite vanilla fragrances that are not so basic. I'm thinking complex vanillas that aren't too sugary sweet. Please do let me know your recommendations in the comments below. But thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope to see you in a future video to come. Thank you so much and goodbye.